Good morning. Happy Saturday, everyone. And we're back for another edition of the Watchdogs. How y'all doing today?
Morning.
I'm great. Excited to be here with y'all. Thank you.
We're excited to have you.
Yes, we are. And so, Julius, if you don't mind, I guess, introduce who we have. We have a very special guest with some great information today.
We do. Nicole, we are happy that you joined us. You know, you jumped on it, and we're happy to have you. And we heard that you've been in Savannah a couple of times, but you didn't call me and Robert. So yeah,
I'll have to
now on.
correct that mistake next time I'm in
Yeah, I
town.
think
For
it'd be
sure.
great for you to be seen with two good-looking men. In the
Absolutely.
city. So we are going to jump right into it. You're running for labor commissioner, and we want to make sure that the people have a chance to hear your platform.
Right.
And so
Absolutely.
we want to jump right into it and go ahead and tell the people why you're running, who you are. Just give them your 2 or 3 4 minute spiel, whatever you want to say, before
I'll
we
give you
start asking those hard questions.
I'll give you the shorter spiel in hopes that we can dig into it a little bit more. So thank y'all so much for having me. It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited to talk with you this afternoon. So let me tell you a little bit about my background because it's actually relevant to why I'm running for labor commissioner. I'm the daughter of a nurse and a lifetime union member. My dad, Ed, he was a heavy equipment operator. He built roads in New York and Connecticut. And every year, usually right before Christmas, my dad was laid off from his job because you can't build roads when it's cold and it's wet outside. Now, despite how this may sound, it wasn't ever scary for us. Our family never worried about paying the mortgage or paying for food. And that's because my dad applied for unemployment, and this is going to be shocking, quickly received it. So he was back to work, and as soon as the weather turned, and back building roads. What we saw here in Georgia was completely different than the experience I grew up with. When the pandemic hit, businesses closed, and more than 500,000 Georgians lost their job, they went through and continue to go through a pretty terrifying experience of not knowing whether or not they would have the money to pay rent or support their families. I mean, we are a year and a half into this pandemic, and Georgians are still waiting 4 to 6 months to receive the benefits they earned. I'm uniquely qualified for this position. I'm an entrepreneur. I owned a business, the $3 million business that we recently sold. And our business worked with labor data to help universities select programs that would lead to jobs for adult students. This is the part of government that needs to be run like a business. We should have an unemployment system that's able to serve Georgians. So if you lose your job, there's a streamlined process to apply for and quickly receive your unemployment. We also need to address underemployment. Underemployment is a huge problem in our state, particularly in Black and Brown communities. So our unemployment rate is very low, and Kemp and Butler Mark Butler is the current labor commissioner, like to brag about our low unemployment rate. But in Georgia, our underemployment rate, and that's the rate at which people are working at jobs for which they're overqualified or they're not getting enough hours. They want more hours and aren't able to get them. It's 9% statewide. Unless you are a Black or Latinx woman, then it's 15%. If you're a Black man, it's 18%. And there are a couple of things that the Department of Labor can do. When I'm elected, I will launch a state-run apprenticeship program. I mean, apprenticeship programs are a fantastic way to create pathways to jobs with living wages. And we actually have, in not far from where y'all are, union-run apprenticeship programs that the Department of Labor doesn't talk to anybody about. And those are apprenticeship programs where you start out at $15 an hour. Within 2 to 3 years, you're making between $60,000 and $100,000. Why aren't we talking about this?
Right.
I also want to see more small businesses in Georgia, and I have a plan for that. But I want to stop and let you guys ask me lots of questions. I'm happy to get into the weeds on all of this. So that's my quick kickoff for you.
Okay,
Well,
awesome.
good. I was really excited when I read on your website, and you just mentioned it, the apprenticeship program. And so, how do you, what's your vision for that? How do you see it unfolding? And what type of impact do you see it having in Georgia?
Oh God, a pretty significant one, a pretty significant one. So um, I think we need to use a little bit of strategy as we tackle this. I want to begin with the union programs that are in existence, and there are union programs across the state of Georgia. And these are jobs like what is north of Savannah is an iron workers apprenticeship program. That's a fantastic program where they're sending people throughout Georgia once you receive your apprenticeship training. You're also talking about heavy equipment operators like my dad, especially as when we pass this infrastructure budget, we're going to need more people who can drive these big machines. But you're also talking about plumbers, carpenters. We have a huge shortage in skilled labor in Georgia. And this is a job that you can't outsource to robots. So there's not only a huge shortage, these are jobs that pay really well. And I think about coastal Georgia in particular. Coastal Georgia, when we talk about people who have bachelor's degree, which is a lot of the time where we go for good jobs, in Georgia, the rate of people with bachelor's is about 31%. Coastal Georgia's rate is 13.8%,
Mm.
Wow.
significantly less than that. Yeah,
Way.
wow. But here's where my head goes to. You don't have to have a college degree to work a great job if there are on ramps to help people get there, and that's what's missing right now. So starting with unions, but then we need to do the research that the labor commissioner does to figure out, okay, what are the occupations that are growing, what are the industries that are growing, and then we work with businesses as partners to get those apprenticeship programs launched. And there's going to be requirements for the apprenticeship program. It's a little bit of classroom training, a lot of on-the-job training, and a pathway to continue working after the apprenticeship program is done. But this is a chance to earn while you learn. It's the difference between an internship. It's you are getting paid to learn a job, and there's power in that. So that's kind of the high level of what I envision for this.
Well, I like that idea,
Mhm.
and especially when you said the small business ideas that you have, and we'd like you to talk about that for a minute. But
Yeah.
with one thing that I noticed all over, but especially here in Georgia, and especially here in Chatham County, where our elected officials operate in silos. They don't they don't talk to each other.
Yes. Yes.
And what you just said a minute ago would require you to work with the Secretary of State's office, uh,
Mhm.
and because it would require you to work with the Secretary of State's office to get things done because they are. We had some people on other candidates that have ideas just like you do to increase the small businesses
Mhm.
in the state of Georgia. So that would be great if you could work with the labor department working with the Secretary of State's office through the governor's office, whoever, especially if we have a Democratic governor.
When
So if you can
Stacy's
talk about
governor.
that.
Yeah. Well, let me first talk with a little bit more detail about my vision for those more small businesses. There are 5 states in our country that have what's called a self-employment assistance program. And this is a program where if you lose your job, but you have an idea for a new small business, instead of being forced to look for a new job, you can receive your unemployment benefits, for the given period of time while you work with the Small Business Administration and the Department of Labor to get your company launched. So, Julius, what you're saying, the companies are going to need to, you have to figure out, are you going to be an S corporation? Are you going to be an LLC? What kind of invoice system are you going to set up? How are you going to track your books? Like, it is, I've been a small business owner. It is hard. And I've talked to some of the other Secretary of State's candidates, and we should be talking so that we streamline that process to launch new business. But I want us to join. Mississippi has this program, guys. Mississippi has this program. We need it.
Yeah.
But when you're talking also, Julius, about working outside of the silo, an effective Department of Labor leader should also be talking with the Department of Early Child Care and Learning, because child care is a huge issue that we face in this state. Child care costs are up 116% since the start of the pandemic, which is crazy. We should be talking about transportation because that we don't have great transportation infrastructure. So an effective labor commissioner is having conversations throughout. And I also have a vision for some on-the-ground infrastructure that we need to put in place to make sure we're getting community input up through the leadership.
Okay.
So, and Julius, you mentioned it, the collaboration or partnerships with other government agencies in the Capitol. What other collaborations or partnerships do you see occurring when you're elected, or if you're elected, outside of the government structure?
I'd love that you asked that, Robert. I think that what I believe we need are some regional boards. Each of the regions of Georgia have these 501c3s that are on the ground, have these activist groups that are on the ground, have unions that are on the ground, and have elected officials who are excited to talk about labor and jobs. I want to put together regional boards, and these regional boards can help us connect and better partner with some of the resources that we've got on the ground. We've seen that the impact of that lack of infrastructure when we go through things like a pandemic and an extreme recession. We should be able to pop up on websites. Here are all of the resources that we've got in this region in terms of food bank, in terms of job fairs, in terms of rental assistance. There's none of that stuff that is available or easily accessible right now on the Department of Labor website. But more than that, these regional boards are going to have an even better sense than I will of, here are the problems that we're facing. Here are the issues that we're feeling really down on the ground that we need to address. We need that kind of regular communication to come up through leadership so that we can make sure there's an ongoing cycle of improvement. So that is what I envision building as a way to reach past this is what DOL is in charge of.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And your technical colleges, I know you wanted to have a partnership with technical colleges.
Yeah.
But we have a bunch of technical schools also, I guess, that it needs to go, some kind of way it needs to fall in that, down to that level also. Mm-hmm. So that we can have them prepared for work when they graduate from high school, either going in the Army or starting a business or going to college. We have to have them ready to prepared. And I think that the Labor Department would do good by not just being in the technical colleges, which is your plan, but in the technical schools.
Mm-hmm. That's right. some of the challenge that we face at the school level is that we have underfunded our schools by billions of dollars over the last decade. Some of our larger schools are lucky enough to have the infrastructure and dollars where they can put into place some of these pre-apprenticeship programs. I mean, I think about, again, I don't mean to talk, my poor mom. I do love my mom and think she's amazing, but my stories tend to be more about my dad. My dad talks about that he would have absolutely dropped out of high school if it wasn't for a shop class, you know? And I think that that giving students more opportunities to plug in where into programs and courses that energize them helps. And you talk to unions in particular, they would love more pre-apprenticeship programs so that people can more easily work into their systems. So you're absolutely right. And that, I mean, Julius, you're talking about, again, another way that we should be working outside of our silos, not just with state government, but with local government as well.
Okay.
So, we all know about COVID and how that impacted everybody.
Yeah.
So, one of the things I was quite sad to see is when the federal government component of the unemployment benefits was cut off.
Yes.
So if you were in
so
office at that time, madness, right? How would you have addressed that and maybe closed the gap when that occurred if you were in office?
Oh, golly. Well, if I was in office, I would have opened up the 42 career centers that we closed. When we opened up Georgia, it pisses me off well, it does. It pisses me off that every other business has figured out a way to keep their frontline employees safe, except for our Department of Labor, so that people don't have a place to go to get their unemployment questions answered, to help find the new jobs that are everywhere. And I want to talk about that too. But I would not have cut off federal benefits. Actually, Robert, I was the only candidate who is running for this office who protested with some other groups and slept out in front of Mark Butler's office to protest the cutting off of the federal benefits. And what kills me is that the most recent research, you guys probably saw it in the paper, it was either last week or the week before, all of the states that cut off the federal benefits, they're actually behind in the bounce back to get people employed. We are further behind. And here's why. A lack of unemployment benefits, like when you try and cut people to the bone on their unemployment benefits, that is directly related to underemployment. A shorter length of time for unemployment benefits is directly related to a higher level of underemployment. And the reason for that is that people get scared because they know their benefits are going to run out. So they take the first job that's offered to them. But that's usually a lower paying job that they're usually more overqualified for. This means less money into our community because that person could have earned more money at a better job. So, which kind of goes probably directly into one of the questions that you have on your, so I would not have ended federal benefits. I think that there was a corporate push for that in the hopes that people would return to work. That push puts us in an us versus them environment of these people are lazy and that's why they're staying at home. These people. It prevents us from having a more holistic and more difficult conversation about what's happening on the ground. And I've talked about this already. What's happening on the ground is that childcare costs are up dramatically, 116%. It was expensive before the pandemic to put your child in childcare. It was expensive. And now it's more than twice the cost. Rent was already expensive. Rent is up 10% across Georgia. And when we ended federal unemployment benefits, our vaccination rate was only just barely above 40%.
Mm.
So people can't afford to go back to work if they can't cover the costs of putting their children in childcare, and they can't cover rent, and they're scared. And they're scared because most of the jobs that we talk about being available right now, a huge percentage of them are frontline jobs, which means you are putting your life on the line. So I will step off my soapbox.
Perfect.
One thing that caught me, Nicole, is that you said something that resonates with me.
Mhm.
And, I know I'm going to get in a lot of trouble about it. But, one of the candidates that's running against you is a very good friend of mine. But I don't think that he would have done what you did.
No.
Went and slept outside with the protesters.
Yeah.
You my kind of girl.
That's
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah.
You
I
my
did.
kind of politician.
Well, and y'all, I am not challenging the fact that that the two other men who are running for this have good hearts and are good people. But I am going to challenge the fact that they don't have an aggressive and robust platform. They are not talking about, well, one of them suddenly mysteriously started talking about apprenticeship programs after I did, but you can't get mad when good ideas are stolen. They're not talking about the self-employment opportunity program that we've got in other states. They're not talking about an infrastructure plan that includes regional input up to the higher levels. I'm also talking about recidivism. Y'all, do you know that when we have our citizens returning after serving their time, no one is helping them find a job? DOL should be a partner in helping returning citizens who have served their time get a job. They want to. And there are tax credits that benefit companies that work with them, that hire them. So I'm not surprised that that I was the only candidate, but I was disappointed. So.
And that's great that you said that because uh, I have another show on this platform called Incarceration to Incorporation.
Mhm.
Once you're labor commissioner, I'd like to have you come on and give ideas. I mean, you can come on before then, though. But that is great because this is one of the things that we are trying to do,
Mhm.
and that would be great if we can get that in place to help returning citizens.
And
Mhm.
I think I understand we need to strengthen the unemployment processes. We do. That is not a question in my mind. And I have, as a business owner, I have the experience of, I have before streamlined and improved processes, helped look for technology. I was talking with some consultants who are working on technology with other states, and y'all, Tennessee has changed their process. So they have what's called a proactive Department of Labor. And by that, they mean that instead of people just applying for unemployment benefits and DOL sitting back and being like, all right, good luck, the Department of Labor calls people who apply and takes them through the process of applying, which dramatically diminishes mistakes, which people
Mhm.
make, that lead to people being denied unnecessarily. 80% of the people who apply for unemployment in Georgia actually are rejected initially. That's not bad staffing, which is happening. That's not bad technology, which is happening. That's bad processes. We need to not only upgrade tech and people, we need to fix processes. And this kind of, sorry, y'all, a strategic business mind to get in there and streamline it and make it better, I'm excited about, which you can see. Sorry. I'm
No,
not
I love it.
a laid back person.
We can see the passion. Look. So you talked about part of this thing I'm about to introduce, and that's Biden's infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
In that bill, he talks about workforce development and applying 100 billion towards that. And so when he kind of unfolds that, it talks about, helping incarcerated or people who restoring their lives get employment, investing in the community. How
Mhm.
do you see that kind of trickling down to the state of Georgia?
Well, I'll have a better sense when we see the bill, and so I'm going to talk off the top of my head, Robert. So this
Oh no,
is
look,
but
ideas.
just but the things that I'm hearing that are going to be trickling down is we're going to get additional funding in DOL to improve the technology. But I think I'm hoping for more dollars allocated to that, because ideally you have that we're sorry. The current labor commissioner cut staffing from 2,000 people to 1,000 people. I will have
Mm,
to go to the General Assembly and fight for more people to do all that I want to. Working with the prisons is one of my very top priorities. I need people there. If I can have additional dollars that we can not only have people there to get jobs, but can be part of a team. Again, this might not fall under my ownership. It doesn't need to fall under my ownership, but if I can help be part of a team that partners so that it's not just additional dollars for jobs, but it's longer term planning for housing. There is some help with housing initially, but that has an end date. So how do you plan that long term? How do you talk with people about a long term wardrobe? And then do we have a need for mental health? Addressing mental health? Do we have a need for helping with things like uh, anger management? Sounds flippant. That sounds out of control. That's not what I mean. But you and I have learned when someone behaves this way, here's how I can respond. That kind of thoughtful education and partnership I want to see happen. That doesn't fall under DOL's scope, but again, DOL could be a partner, and that's where I want to. That's the kind of things I'd like to talk about and explore. And these are just very off the top of my head, which is dangerous to do as a candidate.
Oh, great, awesome.
We got people saying they love your passion. We all see
Thank
said,
you.
uh, "You slept outside with protesters. You're my kind of candidate." See, I told you, the trend is changing now
Yeah.
because people want candidates that are for the people and not necessarily
Right.
for themselves.
Yeah.
And when you can show the people that you're going to make good on your promises, when you can show the people that I am one of you, I can be in the trenches with you, that resonates with people, and they are more prone to support you. But the only thing is, some people, they tell you that, and then when they get there, they do
They
the
disappear.
exact opposite.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I know I'm just saying that's not my style, and the future will. I look forward to a future where I can demonstrate that. Every candidate says that, so
Right, right.
I know that doesn't carry much weight, but
And I think Ivan had a question here. He said, okay, rather than anger management, call it non-vehicular.
in a road rage. Yeah. Well,
I like that.
I just think of when I was running my company. I had one woman who worked for me, and she was smart and articulate and passive aggressive as all hell. And I had to take the time to be like, okay, how am I going to handle that?
Mhm.
What are the skills that I can bring? And I feel like those soft skills we tend to undervalue, but they're the things that help us navigate the tougher situations and help us get stuff done. So,
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. You on the show tonight also, I heard.
pardon
Who's
me?
that?
you're on the show tonight.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, I am on the Liberty County platform with the other two candidates. So
Let me tell the
Cool.
people. I'll give you a plug here
okay.
because those two women are my great friends. Those are my two sisters. And we want to make sure that people tune in tonight. There you go. There
Yes.
Okay.
you go on
Sabrina Newby and Dr. Grimm are amazing women.
They are.
They
They are.
have very high expectations of not just elected officials, but of candidates. And
Mhm.
I love the fact that I've gotten to know these two amazing women during my run. And I hope that I will be able to call them friends, no matter which way this race turns out, because I mean, they're going to hold you accountable. I was on a platform with Dr. Grimm before, and she was like, I want you to tell me. She had some kind of question, and as she was asking the question, she's like, you're not allowed to say this, this, and this because every politician says that. You got to tell me more. I was like, oh, okay, well, hold us accountable.
Yeah, she is direct and she's very good at what she does. She's passionate about helping people. That's
Yes.
Dr. Grimm is very passionate about helping people. That's all she wants to do. And that's the kind of politician that we need in office that understands that it's not about you, it's about the
Right.
people.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that's where I think that'll be the interesting part about this office is it's very much an administrative office. It's not a legislative one. So I don't doubt that there will be some things I will have to go to the General Assembly for and communicate and advocate. But an effective leader is not scared to go and have those conversations. But more than having those conversations, so much of the Republican mantra has been no government. Government is bad. And we need to change the conversation with Republicans to not that government is bad. What they want to see is, I think more of them than we want to admit to are willing to make investments in people as long as they know those investments are coming back. And we need to talk about how we can make the investment to strengthen our communities and what it looks like getting that investment back. So putting some dollars in an apprenticeship program. Most apprenticeship programs cost about $1,000 a person. If you get somebody's salary to go from $25,000 or $30,000 to $60,000 or $70,000, you're going to get that investment back.
Mm-hmm.
That. And you will have companies, because they are all about putting corporate interests first. You will have companies singing their praises because companies are going to get better qualified people, better qualified and more invested individuals. So we can get that. We can kind of get that back. And Tanya's saying, yes, they will hold you accountable. So you might be saying that about Sabrina and Dr. Grimm, but I hope we all hold one another accountable. And I think that accountability of Republicans, if you are all about corporate interests, which seem to be the case, let's find some alignment where workers and corporate interests come together. You got to go to where people are at. I am advocating for the workers, but I can do it in a way that we can find alignment between kind of an overall growth of the state.
That's correct.
Perfect.
That's correct.
So,
I know.
go ahead, Julius.
Now, I was just going to say to correlate on that, that they say that the workforce doesn't want to go back to work and they're lazy. But one thing that we noticed that has happened is that these businesses, like especially the service industry, McDonald's, the hotels, they all went up on their wages.
Magically.
So if they can do that, imagine the legislators doing it, putting in place the mechanisms for this to be a gradual rise, just like it went. I remember when I was a kid, it was $4.50.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all, it's been 2009 since the federal minimum wage has been raised. It has been more than 10 years since the federal minimum wage is up, which is ridiculous. And what drives me nuts is since the end of the 70s from like 1978 to 2020, there has been a 61.8% rise in productivity. That means more products are being made and sold for less. Do y'all know what the rise in salaries has been?
Probably not even half.
Oh no, 17.5%.
Wow.
So there's been a 3 times rise in productivity compared to rise in salaries. That money has gone to executives and to shareholders. That money has not gone to the people. So when we've talked about the rising inequality that's happening in the United States, it's not coming from nowhere. It's coming from us not sharing the wealth that we have experienced in those top echelons of the company. And y'all, I'm going to say over and over again, I owned a business for 15 years. We actually shared the wealth we shared our revenue with our employees. I put my money where my mouth is. That lack of sharing is what's driving inequality. It's what's harming our society. And I think it's part of the driver for this great resignation. People are done. It's not just you're not paying me well. It's also the workplace in which I'm working is not a quality collaborative environment. People are expressing their dissatisfaction with their feet and leaving. And I think it's giving us an opportunity to have some tough conversations about where we should be, and some tough conversations about what our government should be doing. Because I do feel the pain for some of our smaller businesses. It's hard. You don't always have that extra money for the smaller businesses. But some of the things that could help all of this is to treat childcare as infrastructure, is to make affordable housing more of a mission for more widespread mission for us as a state and as a community, which the current General Assembly has made that nearly impossible. So anyway, yes, that's what's happening. And I think, Julius, you're right. I want us to get to $15 an hour. And I'm not running on that because that's not something that the labor commissioner controls. That's a General Assembly. I do think that when you do the research, and I hope I've demonstrated to y'all that I'm not just a pretty face. I do a lot of research as I'm going into this. The scary part of the research around the $15 an hour is a lot of companies have responded to that by reducing hours. So the way we get around that is you don't do it overnight. You do it within, a 3-year time period where we should be at $10 an hour, then $12.50, then $15 an hour. That gives companies some time frame to move and adjust. I know, Ivan, you're absolutely right. The minimum we barely are seeing. It's barely minimum wage. It's like you could pay for one of your bills wage. But we need to get there. And then we need to tie that livable wage when we get to a living wage to inflation. So we don't just sit and wait 10 years for the legislature to come back and raise it again. Like, we need to be thinking more strategically about holding business owners accountable. And that's how we can do it. Well, we don't need to hold them accountable. We'll just make it the law.
That's right.
So, we haven't talked about this, and we rarely talk about this population, but what are some of your ideas for our senior population that might be thinking, well, I might not be in the labor force, but what are some things that can get them engaged or get them excited about being about the labor department?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I think this is also where I'm going to put on my hat from 2 perspectives. The first perspective is, let's talk about seniors who may want to work. A lot of when we talk about the people who have left the workforce, and we talk about it's like these huge numbers, a lot of those numbers are people choosing to retire, who have been forced into early retirement because they're not getting the kind of jobs they want. There are also a lot of jobs that don't need to be done full time. Right now, the Labor Department is very much geared towards, if you want a full-time job, we are the place, and not so much geared towards if you want to work part-time. And this is a great partnership for both seniors as well as for businesses who need to plug in people at $10 or $15 an hour. That could be a way to further engage seniors and bring them back. I also think we have an opportunity to use seniors as mentors. There's a lot of intellectual capital that they leave the workplace with that it would be great to pull them back in as we're bringing people on board. And I think exploring how we can create mentorship opportunities, especially for young people who don't just want to go in and check in. This is we're clocking in and clocking out with the old system with the cards. That's what that is. But have a vision for starting a career, but need some guidance for how do I work my way up the ranks? If I'm unhappy with my job, how do I have those conversations? How do I ask for a raise? I wish I could get more women to ask for a raise. It amazes me the number of people that I've offered a job to. It is very consistent that women almost never negotiate and are the last people to come and try and ask for a promotion. But those kind of dialogues can happen more effectively when you've got a mentor and a partner who's been through that. So I think that would be a way to explore, Robert, engaging with seniors.
That is great. Malvi said she sounds like the progressive labor commissioner we need because I've never seen a candidate that have a passion for the people in our nation history. Oh boy.
Yeah.
You winning over hearts.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a really fascinating process. One of the things that, and I appreciated that comment about history because I'm kind of learning my own history as I've been going through this. Y'all know we are a right to work state. Can I talk about this, or do you have questions? I don't mean to take over.
We're here to help you, to help the people see you.
All right. Well, y'all, Georgia is a right to work state, and this is one of those labels that make me crazy because it sounds like such a pro-worker label. Right to work. It's not. And I bring this up because you're talking about learning history and where things come from. And Julius, you had asked a candidate on one of your previous interviews about critical race theory. And this is the kind of stuff that we don't talk about and need to talk about. Right to work laws, I learned, originated in the 1940s as a strategy to keep Jim Crow in the South. The biggest advocate of the idea was a man named Vance Muse. He was a well-heeled corporate lobbyist, a white supremacist, an anti-Semite, and a professional anti-unionist from Texas. He actually called, oh God, that's my bad, sorry. He actually called the New Deal a communist Jewish conspiracy. So he is the advocate of right to work. And it's a confusing label, like I said, because it sounds like it supports workers.
Right.
But it is designed for one goal in mind, to undermine unions. Federal law requires that when unions negotiate contract, they're negotiating on behalf of all employees, not just union members. Right to work laws, that allows individual employees not to join the unions. The only thing that pays for unions are membership dues. And right to work laws are designed to undermine the union's ability to sustain itself through dues. And what we know is states like ours with weak unions lead to lower wages. That was the goal of right to work aligns. And this Vance Muse, guys, he specifically was like, we need to keep white people out of unions that have Black people. I don't want to be forced to work with Black people. It was a racist law with racist history. And critical race theory is the kind of stuff that teaches us, like, you wouldn't know about this.
Correct.
Unless you learn the history.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been an invigorating process for me to further learn my history. And there's still so much that I don't know. But it helps me to better advocate. And one of the things I am advocating against is that we probably won't be able to do until we get Democrats in control of the General Assembly is we need to get rid of right to work laws. We need to strengthen our unions.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. Robert?
Well, as we think about your campaign, how has that looked, with COVID still kind of present? How is that looking for your campaign? Are you able to get out and about? Are you doing mostly virtual? How's that working out?
A lot of virtual. And a lot of people are willing to get outdoors. So a lot of outdoors events, I am doing a lot of union events. I'm trying to do meet and greets in people's backyards. We're having a beer event, a Halloween beer bash behind as a fundraiser. I'm a big beer lover.
Don't tell Robert that, he'll be there.
Right.
Behind Brickstore Pub, which is in Decatur, Georgia. So
okay.
Beginning to have those. I am going to a church on Sunday, and that'll be an indoor event, but they're very thoughtful about making sure people are staying away from one another. It won't shock you that right now I'm also really focused on raising money because it's the dirty part of politics that you can't run unless you get the word out there. If I could wave my magic wand, we would have government-funded campaigns, but
right.
I can't. So
it's a good idea.
With everybody spending the exact same amount.
Yes, yes. Because then you can. It's not only interesting because you then really are running ideas, but it also demonstrates how strategic you are with how you spend money.
Right.
So, which would be
That's
interesting.
Correct.
But,
that's correct. That is great.
I feel like it's going well. And I'm proud to be out there. I feel like, well, I feel like I am the most qualified candidate for this position because I've spent decades examining labor data and job trends as I've helped universities select and then launch programs that would lead to jobs for adult students. For example, we helped Emory University launch a paralegal certificate program that's probably helped more than 1,000 students transition into that role, and it's still growing. I've helped the University of South Carolina launch a project management program that led to certification for students, which led to high demand jobs that were higher paying. Our company also helps streamline complex university processes and select technology to improve how departments are run. And like I said, over and over again, this is a department that needs to be run like a business. I owned and ran a $3 million business. I know how to staff the department, how to make it easier for people to apply for benefits, and how to build programs for better jobs. I know how to do it because I've done it. So my challenge is just making sure that I get that message out there. And I'm excited to not only be running on my background, which I think uniquely qualifies me for this position, but I'm excited, well, as you've said, passionate about my vision for the department.
Look, you've done the research. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm really impressed. What about you, Julius? What are your thoughts?
I was looking at what Ivan said. He had a question for her. Does she know as a labor commissioner if she would have to contend with lobbyists? They have weight, money, and favors.
I don't think I will, Ivan, because the lobbyists spend most of their time. Well, that's not true. That's not right. I will in kind of a secondary way. The lobbyists are there to try and get are waving money at our state legislators to make sure that the laws don't change to better support people. So I will be fighting against them as they are fighting for those laws. So I will be fighting them as I'm trying to also change laws to be more pro workers. So I said no, but Ivan, yes, I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to do that. I think I'm not too worried about it from a personal perspective because when we sold our company, I'm in a place of privilege. So I'm about to starting my life of service after having worked a life of growing a company. So service, there's not usually alignment with money.
You see, that's good. That, it's service to the people, and because you've already done what you wanted to do,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's service to the people that counts now, because that's what people are looking at. People are asking now, what are you going to do for us,
Yeah. And
instead
they
of what
should be.
instead of what you're going to do for yourself. Most politicians these days are only thinking about themselves.
Yeah.
You know, they come out only at the time when it's election,
Hmm.
and they don't communicate with the people at all. And this is something that is changing, and we need that mindset of candidates to change also, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's great. It'll be interesting to watch you all on the forum tonight.
I
You're going
know.
to
I'm excited and nervous.
yeah, yeah, you should be, because you're gonna be around two smooth characters. That Robert's best friend, one of them.
Lord, look at here.
Who's your best
That's
friend, Robert?
Look, don't follow Julius.
No,
My
he's not
goodness.
Robert's best friend.
Listen,
He's
so how do people,
everybody's friend.
what's
He's
that?
ours. But it'll be interesting to watch that tonight. I think you'll hold your own,
Yeah.
because
I'm
you
not
have
worried
great
about
ideas. Yeah,
that.
you have great ideas, and whoever gets in there, when you're running against people and you see that they have ideas that you can use, then even if you win, you should bring them in to to help. Don't look at them as an enemy. Look at them as forwarding your platform, being able
Hmm.
to put some of the things in place for the people, because it's about the people. See, when you leave those people out who have great ideas, then you're saying it's all about you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Uh, Julius, I
Yeah.
hear you. And I think that's why I said, even though I think I'm the most qualified, even though I think I have the best ideas, they have really good hearts,
mhm.
and they're going to bring things that I may not think about. And I invite that. I welcome that. And we are all three of us have said, whoever wins, we're going to get behind. Whoever wins, we're going to get behind. Because
Awesome.
to your point, Julius, it's not about us. It's really not. It's about the people. And we need to, if people truly care about this state, and I mean this because there's going to be a primary challenger for every single one of the constitutional offices. If we really care about this state, we all need to support who ends up winning that office, because we need change. Georgians deserve change. And
Yeah, that is true. That is
yeah,
true. So how do people learn more about you? Maybe donate or get involved with the campaign?
they can go to my website. Yay! Is there a way that I can type it in?
I think Robert
Um,
already put it up one
yeah,
way.
I'll post it while you're talking.
Okay, they can go to my website. I also strongly encourage them to check out my Facebook page. You can find Nicole Horn for Georgia. There's a Facebook page that'll keep you in the loop as to what we're doing. We're beginning to put in the infrastructure to really start to engage volunteers. So, y'all, I am of course raising money, and if you want to host a fundraiser for me, I would welcome that. But if you're like, Nicole, I want you to come and meet this group of people that I care about, that I think you should meet, please let me know that as well. Every conversation I have matters, every conversation is not just an opportunity for me to tell you about my campaign. It's also a conversation for a chance for me to learn from you, to hear this is what you should be thinking about, Nicole. And when I get questions that I can't answer, I always go and do research so I can be better prepared next time. But so please check out my website. If you want to host a meet and greet, get a handful of friends together, I'm happy to come and meet with you. Please feel free to donate money. Every dollar counts. $5, $10, $5,000, it all counts. And I appreciate it. Thank y'all so much.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for appearing, and we hope to have you back. When's this election?
May.
Next month? Oh, it's in May.
Probably June.
For the
They're
primary.
probably going to move it to June.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get back on I'd love to be back on your calendar in the spring.
Okay.
Ooh.
Awesome. We'll have you back. Hopefully we can have a forum with the three of you, or before then and after then. We can have whoever comes out of that. We can have
Primary.
those people also backing that one person.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Well, this was lively and great, and we're happy that we were able to show our viewers. We have about 20,000 a month that watch us. It used to be 29,000, but people going back to work, I guess now. But they are watching, and people are interested in people with great ideas, and people are interested in people who care about them. So we thank you for coming on.
Thank y'all so
Thank
much.
you.
I really enjoyed it, and thanks to everybody who's watching. And please reach out.
Robert.
All right. We
closing
appreciate
thoughts?
it. And we look forward to watching your forum tonight, and best wishes to you on the campaign trail.
Thank you.
And Nicole, don't go anywhere. Just stay in the studio while I close out, please. All
Yes,
right.
sir.